Jody O'Hara here with the Stone County Enterprise Tomcat Insider, joined by Coach Brian Oakes and Coach Todd Miller from Stone High School. Coach, you're at 500. You're ready to start your conference season. Let's talk a little bit about the guys that are leading your team right now. Your numbers leaders, the guys statistically leading the team. You got Clint Hatton, your senior quarterback. He's not only leading in passing, which you'd expect that, but he's also leading you in rushing. He's averaging 368 yards per game. Those are some great numbers for a kid to be putting up.
Leading into our conference play, I mean, we're going to need him to put up those kind of numbers as well. And, you know, if he's putting up those numbers, you know, this Friday, hopefully, you know, we'll have our chances to win the football game.
Also on the offense, D. Arrington, we've been talking about him all season, but he's your statistical leader in points. 9 points a game. He's leading you scoring. What about D?
Just, you know, like I said, I mean, he's our guy on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you know, we got to have him over there. He's our you know, safety valve or whatever you want to call it, comes up and makes plays for us. But, you know, offensively, we have to be smart with the way we play him. I mean, obviously, you know, full-time two-way guy, I mean, it's tough on anybody. Skilled guy or lineman, and we just got to pick and choose our moments when we get the football to him, and he makes the most of it.
Then you got on defense, once again, another guy we've talked about all year, Cade Amaker. 16 tackles per game. I mean, that's almost as impressive as Clint's 368 yards.
Absolutely, yeah. Just doing a fine job. I mean, he studies film, and he's a hard worker, relentless, and just doing a great job for us on that side of the ball. And, you know, I know he's not going to have the eye-popping stats, you know, on the offensive side of the ball, but I mean, he plays a big part of our offense as well.
You know, one guy that doesn't show up in those statistics, but Ramsey Sellers, you know, he may not be showing up on the internet where you list all your statistics, but Coach Miller, week in, week out, when we're up in the booth talking, we're talking about Ramsey Sellers.
Right,
and his impact.
And I tell you what, his middle linebacker made a great comment last night at the 7th and 8th grade football games. We're up in the press box, and Cade said, "I love for Ramsey to play the nose tackle. It just opens up so much more for me, and he takes on double teams, and I'm free to do what I want to do." And it makes a lot of sense. He is the strongest person almost in the state.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to get the double teams, triple teams, and allow Cade room to make some, you know, tackles.
Can you imagine being an offensive lineman and trying to look out this corner of the eye at Ramsey and this corner of this eye to see Cade? You know, I mean, how are you going to get? That's a heck of a combination.
Well, like Coach Miller said, I mean, he's averaging, you know, 16, you know, tackles a game, but I mean, he gives credit to Ramsey Sellers.
There's a reason.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's just the kind of guy Cade is. You know, you got Ramsey Sellers up there playing in front of him, drawing those double teams. So basically, he's occupying two guys.
Yeah.
You know, I'd hate to know I was a center and I was having to block him by myself.
Coach, this is what I got out of it. Do not move Ramsey to defensive end.
Coaching suggestion for Coach Jones. Let's take a break. Let one of our sponsors get a word in. We'll come back and we'll talk about your conference schedule. It starts this Friday.
Hudson Farm Supply at 336 Hall Street in Wiggins is your home for all things farm related. With feed, seed, fertilizer, farm clothing, horse tack, and pet supplies, including wormers and vaccinations, Hudson Farm Supply can meet your needs with a friendly, knowledgeable staff dedicated to the highest levels of customer service. If you have a farm supply related question and the staff at Hudson Farm Supply do not have the answer, they won't rest until they get it. Proud supporters of Tomcat Athletics, Matt Hudson and Joel Miles invite you to stop by Hudson Farm Supply, sit a spell, and rehash this week's game.
One leg billet, one scratch, and 2 corn.
Thank you very much.
Come shop with us at Hudson Farm Supply.
We're back at the Tomcat Insider. Coach, Friday night, a rematch. You know, I am so looking forward to Friday night. I wrote about it in this week's paper. I've been talking to my wife about it. I've been talking to friends in Michigan about it. in all honesty, I spent a lot of years as a sports writer up in Michigan covering prep sports. I don't know that I ever saw that good of a high school football game as Wayne County and Stone High last year.
Right. You know, guys played well last year, but I mean that one has been put to sleep, and you know they're up next on our schedule here to start our district play, and you know we're having to go to Waynesboro this year, and we're expecting a hostile crowd, and you know I'm sure those guys will be ready to play, you know, this Friday night.
Marcus Boyle's got a whole lot of support up there in Waynesboro, doesn't he?
Absolutely. I mean look at last year. I mean the crowd, you know, they travel well. I'm sure they have a great environment there at home, and you know we're gonna have our hands full this Friday night.
Last year, a very low scoring affair. This year, you guys are putting up a lot of numbers per game. They're giving up a lot of points. Looking at their stats, you know, the one game I think they held somebody to 7, but the other games they've been allowing better than 20 points a game. Your offense against their defense, how do you like what you're seeing?
You know, we just got to be smart with what we do. I mean, they got some guys over there that can make plays, and you know, we have a few things that we feel like we can take advantage of. But again, we got to be smart with the way we attack them. I mean, they just got a lot of team speed. You know, not as big as last year, but I mean, they got 3 linebackers that are pretty good right there. So I mean, we'll just have to be smart with the way we attack them.
3-1, they've shown that they can be beat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you know, their one loss came to you know, a 6A powerhouse, you know, Meridian Wildcats, and you know, their other 3 opponents, you know, 5A opponents, you know, they took care of those guys. But you know, Wayne County's Wayne County, you know, and they're going to be tough at whether it's, you know, at their place or our place or wherever it may be. I mean, we're going to have to, you know, not only battle those guys on the field, you know, we'll have to battle the fans as well.
One of those teams that doesn't rebuild, they just reload.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason for that. They're one of the larger 5A schools. They've got 4 middle schools feeding that. You know, we were talking about that earlier, Coach Miller. You know, 40 guys coming. If you had 40 guys, you mentioned, if they had 40 guys coming from each school at 9th grade, that gives you 160 players to pick from.
I don't know how they do it. You know, I mean, if they do have 4 feeder schools, and like I said, the numbers that leave those 9th grade or middle schools and roll into the 9th grade, you know, if it is, you know, they do have those numbers. I mean, you know, I guess it's a good problem to have, you know, 160 guys. And I mean, heck, look at their high school roster. I mean, it's, you know, it's scaring 100, you know, so I mean, they're right there on the verge of having 100 kids dress out 10 through 12.
That could be an intimidating sight too, because
Look
I know
across the field.
when I worked at Warren Central, you know, one of the basketball coach's duty was to go scout the next week's opponent for the football team. And who was coach? What was the head coach at Warren Central?
Coach Morgan.
Coach Morgan sent me and another guy into West
Monroe
for the first time,
Right.
and I saw number 1 walk out of the dressing room. And 98 players later, here comes number 99. So it is an intimidating factor when you see that many kids come out of the dressing room.
Dressed on Friday night, ready to play football.
And if I remember correctly, not only do they dress that many out 10 through 12, I want to say last year, I think they dress out their 9th grade players in jerseys as well on the sidelines. So, I mean, you got just a slew of folks, and I think he's probably got, you know, 10 coaches, 12 coaches, whatever he has. But, you know, I guess with that many kids, you need that many coaches.
It'd be tough to take, wouldn't it? Now, the week after that, you'll come back home, you'll get PRC. They're only 1-3, but they're still, you're not going to take. And, you know, going through this, I understand you don't like to look past any opponent.
Right.
We're not looking past Wayne, but the next week, just look at the conference schedule. PRC is no pushover.
Absolutely not. I mean, you know, and we've talked about this before. I mean, that schedule top to bottom, I mean, you're going to be tested week in and week out. I mean, you know, I'm calling this thing the SEC of 5A, and, you know, we got to be ready to play every Friday night, or we're going to be sitting at home here in another month and a half.
May very well be the SEC of high school football in this state, I'll tell you what. And then the week after PRC, you come home for them. You got to get on the road again and go to Picayune. And Picayune, they're 3-0 and they're tough.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, you know, you don't want to worry about those things ahead, but I mean, some of the things that are going on, and I mean, you do keep up with scores and records and that kind of thing. And you know, I think PRC is the only one in the district or conference, whatever you want to call it, that has a losing record. I think everybody else is either undefeated or 2-1 or 3-1 or whatever like that. So, I mean, most of these guys in our conference have gotten off to a good start, and it's probably due to the fact that they're probably pretty good football teams as well.
We'll get done here talking, and when we do, those teams combined are 18-7 headed into conference play, and that's pretty impressive. Well over 750 winning percentage.
Jody, you just look at it. Wayne County usually has 1 or 2 Division I players every year, if not a dandy dozen. We have a great senior class this year, a dandy dozen. Probably could have had 2 on there. Look at Picayune. They got a dandy dozen. They could have 2 on there with the running back Jamal Hall. Wes Jones with their quarterback. He could have been a dandy dozen. I mean, just if you go on and on and on, it's just a tough conference to try to get out of.
And after you get Picayune, you come home and you get undefeated. Well, undefeated now. Wes Jones. You went up there last year. You got a taste of those rabid football fans. Wes Jones. Same thing you're going to see this Friday in Wayne County. How important is it for the Tomcats that the fans are out there at A.L. May Memorial Stadium to give you guys a big lift when you got a team like that come to town?
Oh, I mean, it just, it feels great. You know what I'm saying? That look up in the stands, or maybe not even look up in the stands, but, just, 3rd and short, or you make a big play and those guys get excited up there. I mean, the kids feed off of that. You know what I'm saying? The band's playing, the cheerleaders are, cheering and those type of things. I mean, the kids feed off of that stuff, and it is a comfort zone, knowing, and it is a comfort in playing at home. Like you say, I mean, these kids, are going into Wayne County for the very first time, and that's the thing with this redistricting thing. We can't control it, but I have, 2 years ago we were going to Moss Point for the first time. Now, we flip-flop over to 5A. Now these kids are last year going into West Jones for the first time, a hostile environment, your Forest Hills and McCombs and those type places. So when you go into an unfamiliar setting, it is a little bit different. I know when the ball game starts, the whistle blows, that hand gets in the dirt, you get a couple plays under your belt, and then you kind of calm down. But just the fact of going into an unknown situation before the game starts and this kind of, can mess with you a little bit.
My old high school football coach used to always tell us that his name was Jack Baylor, the name Collins High School field after. He always used to tell us, for every team that wins tonight, something bad's going to go wrong. And, these games like last year, we wouldn't survive that first 5 minutes, that little onslaught, but we would hang in there the rest of the game. How do we stay in there Friday night against Wayne County? How do we survive that initial?
Well, the biggest thing is, like we tell our guys is, the first 5 minutes of each half is important. You want to set the tone, and want to set the tone for the first half, right off the bat. Last year, you look back at last year, we take the opening kickoff and drive. I think we have a 15-play drive and punch it in. That was, really impressive, but we were at home, and turn around and then they kick it off and return the kickoff for a touchdown. But, it's important to get off to a good start. You get you some momentum, get you some confidence and that kind of thing, and realize that you can play with those guys at their place and that kind of thing. And just, I got to mention it. I hope the refs aren't as bad as some of the ones that we've seen, this year. So,
the refs will come out of what, Laurel?
Yeah, the Hattiesburg Association, Hattiesburg Laurel Association, yes.
That is one nice thing in comparison to last year's game against Wayne County. You're going to go up there, but the guy that took that kickoff 95 yards, Malik Lofton, he may be there, but he'll be in the stands. He graduated, so you won't have to worry about it.
Maybe he won't be officiating.
If we can get a crowd up there like we had in Coach Oak's first playoff game against Quitman,
yes,
I think we had a nice crowd then. And that's the same type of atmosphere it's going to be this Friday night, albeit the 5th game of the season.
And I don't know if you recall it so much. You were up broadcasting last year. I was down on the field. I realized you've got your back to the stands for most of the game. But I was down there taking photographs, and every once in a while, I'd turn around and I'd look up there at the the home field stands at A.L. May, and I'd just be like, wow, look at all these guys. I'm sure there were 6,000 people in A.L. May Memorial Stadium, because Wayne County brought a good contingent down with them as well. So it's going to be something to look forward to. Let's go to a commercial. We'll come back and we'll talk about the last 3 games of the season.